And good morning, everybody.
Morning.
We are at 9:02, and maybe because it's a little different crowd, if we can keep it to like 10 seconds a person, just who you are, your role in the district, or why you're here, in the club you come from. And let's start with Bob Spangler. We'll go with seniority here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Barb Spangler, past district governor 2018-2019, and current district international service chair. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you, Bob. Kathy.
Good morning, Kathy Flamson, Rotary Club of Calistoga, immediate past district governor, and I'm currently the district youth services chair.
Thank you. Doug Johnson, Rotary Club of Santa Rosa, your current district governor. Dustin.
Dustin Littlefield, current district governor-elect, but Rotary Club Arcata Sunrise.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Jennifer Strong, Lakeport, district governor 22-23.
Thank you very much. For the board, the most tenured, Jim O'Grady.
Hi, I'm Jim O'Grady, Rotary Club of Petaluma Valley board member and also district vocational chair.
Thank you. And ethics committee member. Katie.
I'm Katie Anderson of Napa Sunrise, and I'm just a board member and immediate past president of my club.
Thank you. Brad.
Good morning, Brad Medham, past president ×2, currently with the Rotary Club of Eureka.
Thank you. Dirk.
Dirk Slotin, I'm the chair now of the disaster relief, previous chair or still the chair of LARCA, and past president of the Clear Lake Club.
Okay, let's see. Error number 1, Tom Boylan. You're on mute.
Yeah, most people would prefer that I'm on mute, but that's okay. Tom Boylan with Windsor. I am the district governor nominee designate. I think that's right. And I am currently the webmaster for the district, and yeah, and that's what I do.
Thank you. Sorry for getting out of order there.
That's it.
Barry.
Barry Cogdill, Rotary Club of Santa Rosa East, and the SRAG chair for District 5130, very unofficially.
Thank you. I'm kind of now going in order on my screen. Mary.
Yes, Mary Crumley, Rotary Club of Southwest Eureka, current ADG this year and district secretary.
Ashley.
Ashley Deal, I'm with Arcata Sunrise, and I'm the district treasurer.
Thank you. And Katrina.
Hi, Katrina Zavalny. I'm with Santa Rosa East Rotary Club and on the SRAG committee.
Thank you. You know, as I sit here, one of the joys of this whole thing is what a diverse group we have, and it represents so much of our district. And here on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m., we've all gathered because we actually care about Rotary in our district. So thank you very much for this. Okay, the plan is we're going to do Disaster Relief Committee, Finance, and then take a short break because those two we can usually plow through before we get back into the board meeting. And I will have the environmental report up at the front of the board meeting so that you don't have to sit through the whole thing if you so choose not to. But let's start the Disaster Relief Committee meeting at 9:06. We've somewhat handled introduction of guests, but I do want to do a special welcome to Dirk Slotin. Dirk has stepped up recently to take over as the disaster relief chair as Dwayne Bonds is moving out of our district. So thank you, Dirk.
Welcome.
He brings with him such a wealth of experience, sadly so, but I mean, a wealth of experience from doing a great job with previous, fires up in Lake County and the 2017 District 1. So it's a valuable team member, and it really shows up something that we definitely need. So thank you, Dirk.
You're welcome.
Ashley, do we have a financial report on the Disaster Relief Committee? You're on mute.
May I share my screen?
Yes, you may. Let me make
Okay.
sure. It is, you should be able to do it now.
Okay. Sure, got this going. Okay, so did I do the right one? Let me make sure. I did not. This is the wrong meeting. Second. Let's go back to disaster relief. Okay. So in here, I'm not sure if everybody was able to review these before, so I'll just give a really brief overview. Our total assets as of the end of last month was about 131,000. It is broken down into items that are restricted, and I'll go over that in a second. The total activity for this year, we've received about 15,000 in donations, and per this report, we had only given about 5,000. Since this period in January, we've also given about 22,000 to the Napa area for disaster relief. So that won't be on the asset tracking, so I just want you to be aware of that. This is the asset tracking by type. Basically, the total assets are down about 22,000 from this amount, and that amount relates to the business grants Napa and the general Napa. Any questions on the asset tracking or the reason why things are restricted? Nope. Okay, that's pretty quick.
Yep.
I have a couple of things I want to share. The Napa Club has just received, I think, $22,000 in grants. So they have 29,000. I'm talking rough numbers here, and there are another 4 grants being considered at this point for a total of 9,000. So they have 20,000 left. I've been working with a previous donor that donated to LARCA, and I'm working with an MOU for $40,000. I do need a copy of your tax letter that states that it's a 501c3, and these people have donated, like I said, in the past. So, and I'm working on an MOU for that. So we should know in their February board meeting to approve that grant to our district.
Yes, and Mary has all of those previous letters for contributions, so we can work with you, Dirk.
Great, appreciate it.
And to clarify, Dirk, that potential grant is earmarked for Napa County?
That's correct.
Okay,
It's for the Napa County glass relief.
Yeah, business only, small business.
Correct.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So, okay. So let us go back for a moment to Ashley's report. Are there any questions on that report? If not, may I have a motion to accept her report? Brad, thank you very much. A second. Katie, quick draw, Katie, beat Kathy by just a second. All in favor, raise your hand, please. Any opposed? Okay, that report has been accepted. Thank you very much, Ashley. Thank you, Dirk, for the Napa County update. And as far as official business items, that is all I had on the agenda. Does anybody else have something they would like to bring up on the Disaster Relief Committee meeting?
Yeah, just to say that there is a website. It's a coalition, if you will. The Napa Valley clubs are promoted via this website called rebuildnapa.com. And on it, the top of that is to solicit additional donations to the Disaster Relief Fund. And for those who want to make it specific to Napa, that all they have to do is designate that it goes to Napa. But that's a website that just launched just this past week, and it starts to get some advertising and promotion for it for the next 3 months in the Napa area for all of the newspapers in Napa. And so looking forward to seeing what kind of a response we get off of that.
Yeah, Thank you. Current Assistant Governor John Kemke over in Napa has been doing a good job meeting with the 5 clubs on disaster relief over in Napa. I think they hold bi-weekly meetings. They're Monday nights on Zoom. And there's one representative from each of the 5 clubs, and they have been actively meeting. Now, I will tell you, and that is the county that's doing things right now. John, I had a conversation with him yesterday, and he will not be coming back as assistant governor next year. So whatever assistant governor you choose, you might want to plug them in soon enough so that they're up to speed with the fire relief efforts going on. They might even want to start attending some of those meetings. But they were aware of the Rebuild Napa. I think one of their members is involved in it, actually. So let's see. While I'm checking chat here, anything else? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to close the meeting? Kathy, oh, she wasn't going to lose this time. A second. Brad, all in favor? Opposed? Meeting closed at 9:13. Okay, at this point in time, I'm going to turn over the lectern, I guess, I'm at a desk, the lectern to Bob Spangler, who will run our finance meeting.
I guess I'm done.
Thank you, Doug.
With you guys.
Oh.
Thanks. Take care.
You, Dirk.
Thank you, Dirk. Take care. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the District 5130 Finance Committee meeting. I've asked Ashley to share her screen and walk us through the finance reports on OneDrive. Is that good with you, Ash? There you go.
Yeah. Can you everybody see? Okay.
Mhm.
So here's the agenda. Do you want to go over that first, Barb?
Sure. So here's our agenda. We'll call meeting to order, welcome and introduce guests. I think everyone has been introduced. Information on item number 1, the October 17th Finance Committee meeting minutes were approved virtually. That's informational. Action item number 1, the financial reports. I'll turn that over to Ashley for presentation and review.
Okay, so I just want to let everybody know this is, I think, only our second meeting using OneDrive. So we've come quite some ways. I did put all the financial reports into one PDF, and I dropped a link in the chat so you can look it on your screen if you don't want to screen share with me. This has a lot more information. It's 28 pages compared to the other one we looked at earlier. Basically, the main things to point out are that we still have quite a bit of cash in our accounts because we haven't been able to do very much since COVID happened. Areas of concern on the balance sheet that I wanted to point out are first, here, let me make this a little zoomed in so you can see it a little better, hopefully. Well, that's very big, but we have about 185,000 in reserves. We haven't transferred Kathy's yet. The tax return hasn't been completed by Lincolnheimer. It normally happens late February, so that'll happen after. So I just want to bring that to everybody's attention. Our current amount sitting in the operating account is 154. And this accounts receivable looks interesting. Don't be alarmed. It's mainly due to the grants receivable that got received in mid-January. And there was a couple clubs that hadn't paid dues, just 2, and Doug and I have reached out to them, so we'll collect those. It's been an interesting year, so we've been a little bit more lenient on that. We still have Doug's event deposit of about $17,000, and I'm sure we'll get more of an update on that when he goes over his board items in the next meeting. And prepaid expenses are mainly related to items that we've paid out, and they might get canceled, really. We're not sure what's going to happen yet, so not a large number, just to be aware of that. Liabilities, we have some grants payable down here, And accounts payable, nothing major. Everything will be taken care of in January. Credit card, keep it pretty minimal. That gets paid monthly. This district conference assessment was finalized just a week or so ago. And so, not Kathy, let's see, Barb and I went over it on Sunday night, and we have the breakdown per club based on the total members that they paid the $10 assessment fee for Kathy's year. And so we have that calculated. I just need to print out all the checks and have the wonderful Dustin sign them.
I'd like to get some information on that as well, please.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Do you want to go over that more now, or do you want to do that after the fact?
Offline.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks.
And then let's see. So that's the balance sheet. And then I'm just going to go really touch base on the profit and loss by class. I don't want to go into too much detail on the budget versus actual per person. I would like each member that has a category to look at theirs. It's later. It's why there's so many pages later on. But this will give you an overview of how much money we've collected for the year. We have the club assessments will be the most. There's a district conference assessment for Doug's year. And then the RA subsidy. District grants, this is the block grant that wasn't received until January. So not a whole lot's been spent yet, but it will happen in the upcoming months. And the expenses are pretty minimal. So it's a lot different than what our original budget was. So long story short, we're looking at a big potential reserve at the end of the year. That's the main thing to be aware of. And then the remaining pages are so you have detail of what our original budget was for each item and how much we've spent. And so just for an example, for Doug's year or Doug's classification, you can see that there's certain amounts that we just haven't had to do anything, partially because we can't do it in person and the events were canceled. So like club visits, there's going to be a little bit in here I haven't put yet from reconciling Doug's, but there's a lot that will be left unused, like international convention. Does anybody want to go over any more detail on those items, questions, or concerns?
Well, I have a comment, Ashley.
Yeah.
And it's something we can work on later, but RI has given a lot more freedom on what their stipend can be used for. So if we don't use it, we send it back, whatever unused portion. So I think it's worthwhile taking a look at categories that we have spent money on that we could put under that stipend. So any sort of technology that we've used, for example, this year, that would be a category that's acceptable for them. We're actually in the test model that basically whatever the district approves almost within reason is acceptable. So before we send the money back, I guess what I'm saying is we should look at what are things, actual expenses we did incur that we could move that way.
Definitely. And I know Dustin, sorry. Dustin had reached out to me. We had a meeting on Wednesday to go over his budget versus actual, just to see what we had used and what categories were allowed. So any of the DG line, if you want to go over anything with me in detail, we can go over that at any point. Just let me know. We can make a meeting.
And I have a question, Doug. Would you share whatever communication you have received from RI relative to modifications in the acceptable expenses for the stipend, so that we're all aware of it? So when we do have that conversation about what to shift, we're all aware of the guidance?
There's no official document, Barb. It's been via email and conversation with Vicki Pulitz and Jorita Solari, and I think Dustin's been having the same levels of conversation. So the last I got was an email from Vicki, because the whole Western U.S. DGs were all asking the same question, and so she went back to RI, and then she comes back to us with an email saying basically if you're in the test model, whatever your district approves is an approved expense.
Okay, could you share that with us?
Yeah.
So that we can see it as well? Yeah, thank you. Just want to make sure that we're, doing our fiduciary responsibility.
Definitely.
Yeah. Hey, Dustin, have you had any more formal communication on that matter as you're putting your budget together?
No, pretty much exactly what you said is exactly what's been said to me by the same people as well in our RID meetings and whatnot. So, I mean, that's where it's at right now. It's just literally you said the exact words that they've told us. So.
Right. I just think from a finance perspective, we want to make sure that we're all aware of whatever guidance exists, so that as we have these conversations about what goes where, we're all on the same page on that. So maybe, yeah. So if you share it with us and maybe make it send it to Mary to include in our official docs for the year, maybe Ashley and Mary for the official financial documents for the year.
Definitely.
Thank you.
I hate to say it like this, but I'm assuming that we are going to get some more specific clarification down the road a bit. I think they're just kind of trying to figure out stuff too right now. So.
Yeah.
Perhaps Nick and RI could give us something a little more official too, or Jim.
Yeah, so that was the email that I will send from Vicky references her conversations with Nick and Jim. And so she went back to them to get guidance, and that's what they came up with. That districts are in one of two models as a PDG. You've been through that one. So we're in that new test model, which most districts are now, and it gives a district a lot more flexibility on how to spend money than the old model.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, Ashley, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries. I think that's everything I had on my list that I had sent Barb. I think I went over on the main talking points already. So it's open for any questions at this point. Making everything too easy, guys.
So if there are no questions and no comments, should we entertain a motion to accept the financial reports and present them to the board? Somebody like to make that motion? Doug. Get a second? Jennifer, second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Reports are approved. Thank you, Ashley. Thanks once again for just an excellent job in developing all of that and keeping us all straight. Excuse me. Thanks. All right. If there are no other items, then can we get a motion to close the Finance Committee meeting? Okay, Jim. Jennifer, you want a second? Jennifer, second. All right. Finance Committee meeting is closed.
Well, thank you, Ashley and Bob. Kathy, question.
I was just wondering if we needed to get the ayes and nays.
Yeah, we can read. All right. Let's reopen for a vote. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Given that all are in favor, the meeting is now closed.
Thank you. Since we're only like 25 minutes into this thing, do we want to just keep rolling along, or does someone need? Yep. All right, everyone. Yeah, they want to get to this Saturday. All right. So then, let us open the Board of Directors meeting at 9:27. Guests, we still have, they're hanging in with us. This is good. Katrina and Barry, thank you. You've just witnessed the exciting Disaster Relief Committee and Finance Committee, so welcome. First item is to review any outstanding action items from the previous board meeting. And would I like to share so Mary can type? You mean screen share, Ashley?
Yes, just in case everybody can see it.
Yeah, screen share is on for anybody right now. I just turned it on, trusting you all, so
Okay.
it's on for the meeting. Okay, Dustin, first item was any update on the search for a new district treasurer?
Yeah, Jennifer and Ashley and I met, and we have a short list of treasurers we're looking for. What we're looking for is someone that's typically a CPA like Ashley. I forget the name of the first person I called. I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. Ashley, what was her name again?
Alicia Soretti.
Yeah, so we're going to reach out, or I'm waiting to hear back from her. But that was, that's where we're at with that. So we've had a meeting, we're making the calls, I'm making the calls, and we hope to have someone give us the affirmative by July 1st, so they can shadow Ashley throughout the year and just kind of pass the baton along the way. So Jennifer and that part of the board will be set for next year. So that's where we are with that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Dustin on the treasurer search? All right. Next up, Bob, I had for how we doing on our test drive of Microsoft Teams using International as a committee?
So we're still working on that. There have been some activity back and forth between Mary, Tom Bogue, and myself, mostly between Mary and Tom and Ashley, relative to the accounts and moving the OneDrive account from a district account through TechSoup, and so changing the actual sourcing of the OneDrive account. So that was set, and then there needed to be some modifications made to the domain, and that was done, I believe, by Tom kind of early in December. So as it relates to setting up the international side of that, I put that on pause until the district kind of settled down on exactly what the domains were going to be, what the addresses were going to be, kind of how, who owned what, and what the thing needed to look like. So I think Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're in a place now where we can kind of get back to it. All the ownerships are changed, all the domains are changed, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, all right, so I didn't want to get the international team overly engaged until we had the foundation kind of set up. It sounds like now we've got our foundation, so we'll get back to making that a priority. And the international team is meeting monthly, so we shouldn't have very much trouble getting that going.
Good. Thank you very much. And Mary especially, I want to thank you. You've been doing a lot of work, and you jumped in, and you were not by any means an expert. You told me day one with OneDrive and all this. So you stepped in as district secretary and would drop this whole conversion into your lap. And you've just done an outstanding job. So thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
I will echo that. I mean, Mary is an absolute delight to work with on this. And, while we were all kind of 3 feet up in the air going, everybody's going, I don't know, what do you think? I don't know, what do you think? Mary was absolutely wonderful with that. So thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barb. And I'm still not an expert, by the way. I'm still learning.
Yeah. I really believe it's going to lay a great foundation for Dustin and Jennifer moving forward, that our district will, be in the digital age, so to speak. And digital transformation is the buzzword these days, or the buzz phrase, and it can be painful. But we're getting there. So, anyway, thank you. Is there any other carryover business that I missed Because those are the two items I had. Is there anything I missed from last meeting, action items? Okay. If not, then I want to move to the financial report from the Finance Committee. Do we have a motion to accept the finance report? Kathy, thank you. A second? Jen, all in favor? Okay, any opposed? Okay, good. So we accept the financial report as presented. Info items. I don't have them on the screen, but you got a page each from myself, from Dustin, and from Jennifer with the basic activities we have been doing since the last board meeting in October. Anybody have any questions on any of that? Okay.
Well, just one, for some reason, I'm not seeing these forms, and I know, Mary, you were going to send something back. Was that going through this? Yeah, I'm not getting any documents here.
It was
Doug,
shared.
Doug, do you want to share your screen?
What's that?
Yeah, I think, Doug, if you share your screen, then we can see the agenda rather than if you
Work
share
on
your
paper.
screen.
And to answer your question, Tom, if you go to OneDrive and hit the shared files, you should see these documents.
I guess I'm going to have to try and, yeah, I'm having a hard time seeing that. I'm not seeing that. I did get in on the OneDrive, but I don't have whatever. I'm not seeing those files at all.
Okay.
So
There you go.
I'll
There it
share my
is.
screen right now just so we all can see it. I'm just going to give a very quick overview. I shared a link that should send in the chat earlier when we first started that should share this folder. The agendas for each of the 3 meetings are in these folders, and the informational items Doug's talking about, like Dustin's activity log, is outside here. So feel free to, try clicking on that link, see if it works. Let Mary know if you have issues accessing it. But in the meantime, for this meeting, I'll make sure I share. Sound good?
Thanks, Ash.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ashley. All right. Next up is the Environmental Committee represented by Barry and Katrina. So the floor is yours, and screen sharing is turned on if you want to share any documents.
Great, thank you, Doug, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with everybody here and let you know a little bit about what's been transpiring over the last couple of months. So as y'all know, Rotary Foundation has elevated environmental protection to the 7th area of focus. And as such, SRAG, Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group, has been reaching out to folks to bring this to districts across the globe. And so I have been involved in SRAG, and so they tapped me to lead the charge. And so along with Katrina Zavalny from Santa Rosa East also, who is my cohort for many, many years now. And she had been doing the work of Rotary before becoming a Rotarian. And I was able to show her the power of Rotary and get her as a club member. And we've been working on global grants and now working on environmental sustainability ever since. And she runs her own nonprofit called Aranya Solutions that does a lot of event planning and community organization. And she's just she's got a good head on her shoulders, and I couldn't be doing this without her. So I just want to make sure everybody knows who she is, and I'm very happy that she's able to be on the call with us. I just want to give you guys a quick overview of what we're doing. So we had started holding meetings and with fellow SRAG Rotarians in the district, and came up with an Earth Day program that we want to share with you. The theme of this is getting kids' hands dirty, connecting kids their hands with soil. And so we've been developing a program to engage clubs to participate, making it as easy as possible. We're looking at doing river cleanups, planting mini gardens, plantings for pollinators, and reforesting of burned areas. And when we're also encouraging any club that wants to participate in an Earth Day activity, if they have their own, that's great too. So we want something that the whole district can participate in. We're making this as turnkey as possible since it is the very first one. And we're hoping that maybe this is something that can be an annual event in our district. And Katrina, I'll turn it over to you for our status.
Yeah, and as Barry was saying, it's so exciting that the environment is a focus of Rotaries now. And so that's one reason why we want to do this big campaign with Earth Day and getting different clubs activated, involved. And so we've had a group meeting on Tuesday nights to kind of put our heads together to figure out what's the best way to get people involved. And so we've come together and shared this with all of the club presidents, and now have a bunch of them reaching out to us to present to their club. And the idea is to have the clubs either engage in a project of their own or to collaborate with other clubs and really make something happen. And while this is kind of our short-term goal of getting Earth Day kicked off in April, it's just enough time to start planning for that. We also are looking ahead as far as what can a Rotary in our district take on in the environmental realm for the longer term. So with that in mind, we have a monthly group that meets, and all of you are invited if you know other people who are interested. We meet monthly and that discuss kind of our long-term strategic goals for the environmental sustainability and protecting the environment. And we also, as Barry mentioned, want to get kids' hands dirty, and with that is involving interactors and rotaractors. And so we have clubs reaching out to their interactors and rotaractors to get them involved and really start to engage this on a larger scale. And that includes working with local partners and organizations and those who are already doing this work. And so just finding ways that we can partner and create opportunities for more volunteers to get involved, keeping COVID safety in mind, of course, and outdoor activities helps with that. And also creating some ways for people to learn about Rotary and hopefully gain more Rotary membership through these different partnerships that we can form. And we have some people who have been putting on educational events like movie nights, and I think that's just going to continue. And we're looking forward to actually creating more deeper engagement on specific topics for education and providing some webinars, some Ask the Experts, if you will. So that's up and coming. And something that is kind of a bridger between our current status and what's up and coming is working with other districts as well. We've engaged with working in San Francisco. John Mathers is the district SREG chair, and he's part of the first 5 Rotary one of the first 5 Rotary clubs, and he's going to be reaching out to them to get them engaged in this larger Earth Day campaign and activities. And so it's kind of exciting, like all of this collaboration and different things are starting to happen, and people are really on the same page of wanting to leverage what Rotary's network can do and how we can protect the environment. So as we're moving forward, and our larger goals is for identifying ways that we can connect with clubs and get an idea of what projects they're taking on, and then how we can share that information, create a repository, and keep our eye on how can we connect clubs or other projects we hear about going on together, so nobody's reinventing the wheel, and how we can just keep that energy going and bring the educational resources and partners to help really further what's happening and the ultimate goals of the different projects. We also know that there's the power of media, and creating social media is a great way for sharing information on Facebook or different forums, getting the word out in the community. And so there's a couple of different ways that we're engaging in that, from video and working with the larger challenge that's going on. And you may have heard about people sending in a short video about their environmental projects to RI, as well as we can use that for a larger social media campaign and really get people excited and fired up and educated on some different ways to plug in. So that's something that we're working on that we're very excited about. We're also looking at local businesses and some larger businesses in the area for providing sponsorship, for helping fund these initiatives, and also finding ways that they can plug in and be part of this larger way for, having some canvas bags full of seed packets and different ways that they can engage with the community and the larger Rotary network for this environmental thing that's going on. And last but not least in our goals and our planning is the engaging with the different websites. There's sreg.org, which is the larger website for the Rotary initiatives, as well as the local level and what we call the Big West, which is the regional level. So we're playing with all the players and trying to make sure that we are connecting resources together. And again, nobody's repeating or reinventing the wheel. So we're trying to get as much communication going on with all of these very inspired people to really make sure that environmental projects are thought through and the resources are clearly laid out, and we can make this an easy turnkey approach for people to get involved. Because while the environment is not new, it is kind of fun that Rotary is taking it on, so it is technically a new area of focus. So we want to just make it as easy and fun as possible.
So I have a question, Barry and Katrina, for you guys. Because I know you guys are up to your eyeballs on this, and thank you for the work that you're doing on it. A question for you though, you mentioned that you're starting to reach out to corporations and other businesses and such. Do you think, in your opinion, is there any capacity out there for like, for example, an environmental e-club within our district that would attract in new individuals that are maybe not Rotarians already, but that would be interested in a topic specific type of club, from an e-club standpoint within our district, that would be able to attract some of these folks that aren't currently in Rotary?
Yes.
That's a great idea.
100% yes. I mean, take me for example. I had no idea what Rotary was and what it was about, and Barry was a good friend, and so he told me about the power of Rotary, and I was skeptical at first, I have to be honest, but then I drank the Kool-Aid, and I learned the power of Rotary, and I got to see it from my own eyes, and the deeper I've gotten in, I've just been amazed. Now, not everybody's going to have that kind of easy road that I feel like I had. I would say some people are going to be skeptical for a while. However, if there is an e-club, like an environmental club that already resonates with their values, I think that's a much easier pathway in, and especially for the younger generations, because there can just be some preconceived notions that takes a little while for people to get over. And when they see people their own age doing things that's connected to this kind of network, they will eventually see the power of it. And so I already have in mind plenty of networks and people I'm going to be tapping, like 350.org, which is Bill McKibben's large network that is focused on really environmental issues and drawing down carbon. So we're at that level of 350 carbon molecules. I won't get too scientific on you, but essentially they're a large network that has many chapters, much like Rotary. They have a parent network, and then there's the Bay Area chapter, there's this, other location. And they've actually asked me to come speak recently at one of their events. And so I was like, hey, by the way, do you guys know about Rotary? And we're doing this big environmental thing. Are you guys doing an Earth Day project, or would you like to come volunteer at one? And so I'm doing that with a bunch of networks like that. And so that's part of my master plan.
So So maybe possibly we can do an offline call with you and Barry and maybe Dustin, Doug, Tom, whoever on that. Because I really think that we need to, especially since you guys are just really getting ramped up on this SRAG, that if we are going to start, an environmental e-club within our district, it might be a good idea to kind of go down that path of having those discussions now so that when you guys get out there, you also have something to bring to these individuals that maybe don't know Rotary. So maybe we can get something scheduled. Doug, Dustin, Doug, Tom, does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, definitely it's discussion I had with the northern clubs already about environmental clubs. So I would recommend making sure that Andy up in Garberville is included because he's highly interested in this as well. So bring him to the table to get some representation because the northern clubs back in the fall when I talked to him about this, they were interested.
Andy's been
Andy
part of
Gunther?
this the whole time, so he's very involved with us.
Yeah, he's on our Tuesday meeting.
Yeah, and Salvador Rico as well. So we got a couple of heavy hitters, which is nice.
Yeah.
So we have put together a budget. We're working, pulling all this together, and we're realizing we have a lot of expenses. We're out there raising funds. We have about $3,000 in pledges coming in, and Katrina has lined up a $5,000 grant through the Rex Foundation. We're looking at somewhere between $20,000 to $30,000, and so we don't know. We were thinking, I don't know what the district's position is, what the district's capacity is, but if there is maybe some matching fund, some kind of something that we could put together, that would definitely help go a long way in us bridging all of our budgetary gaps to bring this out and make it something that's sustaining. So we just wanted to put that out there to you. I'm going to put a link for you guys to look at later in the chat bar. That is our estimated budget, and then just leave it to you guys to get back to us with any any support that you think might be available, might be pertinent, might be forthcoming. So I'll do that right now. And the last thing we wanted to mention too is well, actually two things. We SRAG is trying to get districts around the world to have environmental sustainability be a district committee chaired position, the way international service or foundation, that kind of thing is. So so Dustin and I have had a very brief conversation about this. He's going to attend our meeting on Tuesday, our working group meeting, and talk a little further about that. But it just seems like this might be a very good time with the area focus becoming online on July 1st when Dustin starts his district governor term. So we wanted to put that out there. We actually have somebody here on the Zoom call that might be an excellent candidate to chair that, it being Katrina. So so anyway, we want to bring some solutions and make this as turnkey for everybody as possible. So so that was something. And we also want to encourage you to join SRAG. It's srag.org, and it's $25 a year. And so it's a power of numbers kind of thing. So I'll put a couple of things here in the chat. This first thing I'm putting in is the link to a Google Doc that has our working budget. And then the next thing is just srag.org for an easy click to get to their page to take a look and ideally join. And I think that's what we have for you guys. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if you have any questions on the budget, we'd be more than happy to answer that. Definitely want to highlight that this is a bit of an expensive endeavor, not extremely, but as you all know, and I know Jennifer's been involved in planting trees and leading those efforts. And so we want to find ways also to make it easy for the clubs to participate and again, being that organizational glue and supporting them to make this happen.
So as you're thinking about your really deep questions for them, I'll remind you, I did send out in your packet the policy statement on the new environmental committee from RI. It's pretty broad. It's worth reading. It definitely is worth reading. And then the other thing, if you can actually get an environmental e-club up and running this year, you'd be able to file for a district grant and you'd get a couple $1,000s right there.
Great idea.
That is a great idea. Yeah, I think an e-club, as well as having a an environmental chair would be, really kind of help move this forward, because we don't want to have the E-Club be the only, ones thought of doing any kind of environmental. This is an RI initiative, so definitely think that having that kind of position would really help move this into the forefront.
So Doug, I have a question for you. Is because in looking at their budget, they have like some technology needs and things like that, and it's just a question, not for an action item, but just a question. Is there, you mentioned back in the finance meeting that we've got all these excess, funds that aren't being spent from the standpoint of the money from RI and stuff. Is there any of that could be utilized to help with this at all? I mean, I know it's a discussion at the finance, but I'm just curious.
I think that's a very good discussion for a G-line meeting. Because Kathy may have some reserves left over from last year. I may have reserves left over from this year. Dustin and you are planning on where you're going. So I think that's, in that discussion could be sooner than later. But I think that's a very good G-line discussion.
Let me add that I think that's a great discussion to have, and let me kind of point out that when you have that discussion, or as you prepare for that discussion, to make sure that you visit the district accounting policies and procedures, the AP&Ps, because that's kind of the guidance about how we operate financially as a district, and I think we need to make sure that that in any given year and across years and through years, that everyone who makes a financial decision or everyone who visits a financial opportunity is aware that we have accounting policies and procedures, and we have guidance in the district about how to allocate our funds and how to what constitutes an element that needs an approval, what constitutes an element that's discretionary. So as you have that conversation in the G-line, make sure that you visit the accounting policies and procedures as you do that. That's my job as the finance committee.
Any other questions or comments for Barry or Katrina before they head off into the beautiful Saturday before tomorrow's rain? So thank you. The only last, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to truncate this story because I could make stories long, but it must be 2 years ago now, maybe 3, when we did the second Middletown tree planting. And I took my daughter, who's now 31, and my granddaughter, who's now 12. So obviously she was probably 9 at the time, so whatever, and we went up to do it together and had a great day planting little saplings together as a family. And, my daughter on the way home, it's like, well, how much does it cost to join Rotary? And, so the point being is that families and kids can unite around Rotary when they're doing a hands-on project, like an Earth Day project or like a tree planting. So I think it opens the door to getting a different group into Rotary.
Thank you, Doug. That's a great story, and I so agree. So I'm very excited personally to start doing some more tree planting and getting my hands dirty, especially with the youth and other Rotarians. I can't wait.
All right. Well, thank you. You're welcome to stay, or if not, we understand.
All right. Well, thank you. I actually have to go, but really appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you all so much. It's been great. So appreciate you. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for being here today. That's great.
Thanks, guys.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Okay. So Mary, I am carrying that over as an action item for us to continue with so it doesn't get lost.
Okay.
Next up is our youth protection policy. We may have to lots and lots and lots of time. Yes.
How about next up is a 5-minute break?
Okay, 5-minute break.
Unless the people don't want that. Yeah, 5 minutes.
It's fine. See you back here at 10:01 on my time.
We're on a quick break. We're on a 10-minute break, but I have 1 more minute.
Oh, okay. Well, I stopped and talked to Donnie for about 15 minutes.
Good.
Found out the people at the empty house is people live in Oakland and they're gradually moving over, but they might just furnish it and rent it out as an Airbnb, but they don't know for sure.
Okay, we're getting back on here.
Okay, all right.
Wash machine bugging you?
No, it's fine. Thank you.
Does the ring mess you up?
Mm-hmm.
Does it? Better not go out there.
All right. Let's see. We're waiting on Jennifer. Dustin, are you back with us?
I am here, yes.
Good. Ashley, you're here. Good. And Jennifer's here. All right. Let us get back going. So I was just picking up at youth protection policy. I did send a revised draft out to all, so we got the dates corrected on all the pages, and a couple of Brad's suggestions were incorporated. So I want to make sure everyone did receive it first and see what questions you may have at this point. No questions, no comments.
I hadn't received it, Doug. I don't know if I'm still new on the list, but I did look at the document while we were at break and read it off of the materials that were shared by Mary.
Okay, thank you.
Doug, do you know how close we are to getting the online vetting process done? Has Wolf commented about that?
No, he has not, but what I'll do is put that for an action item for the next meeting to have a report back on the status of our youth online vetting.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It just seems like, Kathy, we're this close to actually approving a policy that this must have began back in Bob's year or whatever. You know,
It started back with Wolf. We've been doing this for years.
So anyway,
we have been working on this for years with the same roadblocks year in and year out.
all right. Well, this is good because we're just about to punch through this roadblock. So if there are no comments or questions, do I have a motion to adopt the youth protection policy as presented? Jim, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Brad, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Haida is going to be so happy when I send him a text after this meeting. You just made his day. So, all right. Next up, staying on youth. And I did look at, Dustin, your proposed budget, so I think you're looking at a little bit. Haida contacted me regarding our district conference, October 8 and 9 of 2021. And the agenda is that youth would open up the Friday night session on October 8th of the formal district conference. The ethics seminar is kind of a standalone event at lunchtime of that day, but the youth would open it up. Normally, he said there's between 30 and 40 inbound that participate in this or rebounds. He wants to increase it to include Rotex and more rebounds. And so it could be up to 60, 50 or more people. It's $60 a person to feed them. I'm just taking a rough number if I'm using the hotel's budget. So he's asking if the district will pick up the bill for all this. So, I mean, 30 to 40 people times 60 is $2,400. That's one number. I mean, 50 people now we're at 3,000 and then on up from there. So I told him that I would bring his question to the board and we would discuss it. I do not know what historically has happened, Kathy or Bob, what the bill was that paid for youth previously to travel to district conferences and feed them. So maybe that's even a starting point that you can provide some wisdom.
Well, Barb can talk to it better than I since I didn't have a conference.
Was there a budget that you had in mind for that?
Typically, they have one meal with, at least in the past, and it's breakfast. So it's about 25 a person. Yeah. I thought the clubs paid for it, but I don't know if they did or not. I don't remember.
I think it varied. And I think generally speaking, my recollection is that it was a Sunday morning rather than the Friday night. So the youth program was the Sunday morning program. It's very powerful. In general, people really enjoyed them. And so the meal was covered, but basically I think what usually happened is, depending on where the conference was, there was an activity the day before, a project at that location the day before, and the students did the project and then found lodging through something local. And then the district just covered their breakfast on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I think that's right. It seems like we had budgeted for them, but Ashley might know more.
Ashley might know more. Ashley, you back? Maybe not. Yep.
I'm back. Dustin and I were looking at prior district conference budgets, but it was kind of hard to figure out all the details. So I don't have too much information, actually.
Yeah, because they're all lumped in with the registration stuff. So sometimes it's hard to tell which is youth and which are guests and which might be a spouse of a Rotarian or.
And there were a couple of asks that were made of the district when, I think it was when the district conferences were far out of the district, you know. So I think when we went down to Yosemite, when we went to Incline, when we went to Reno, there were additional asks, and I don't remember exactly how we handled them, but they were on the table for discussion.
So
the ask is.
So let me tell you ask, but let me kind of fill in a couple of things for everyone here. Since the conference is local in Rohnert Park, there is no travel expense, and they've already lined up housing, so there's no housing expense. So those hurdles have been cleared. Traditionally, youth was the Sunday morning program at our district conference. And of the ones I went to, sadly, a good third or more of the Rotarians left Sunday morning. So what was a vibrant program was often to a not too filled hall. So my feeling was everyone says we love the program and it's great. So I was moving it up to Friday night opening, kind of like the opening of the Olympics. Because if you've ever been to, you know, they have their flags coming in and little performance to really showcase the youth and have it everyone there and not have them feeling like people left and didn't want to see them. So that was why I moved it. So what that did was it changed the expense from a breakfast, which is half of what a dinner is.
And I was going to have them Saturday night, and they would have been after dinner. So they would not have had a meal there. They would have had their own, probably would have been pizza, because that's typically what they have on Saturday night. So it was a much lower cost. I don't think there was even any cost for them to be there, because it would have been the evening performance on Saturday night.
Is there a plan, Doug, for a community-based project?
Not at the moment, but we actually begin, my first meeting to really start seriously planning is a Zoom call next Wednesday with Dave and Kim McDonald. I've got a list of people who've said they want to be involved in the committee. And so the first call Wednesday is to get just a big picture of all the committees needed to pull up a district conference and the people needed, and then start recruiting and put a timeline to it. So the conference is set to be Friday luncheon, ethics seminar open to the public, Friday evening opening with youth, and then I have a very good speaker from RI coming in. Saturday conference, Vicki Pullitz is committed to come and speak. And then Saturday night, a foundation. So we would not have a foundation north and south, but they would be the highlight of Saturday night. So more formal dinner. And then that leaves us open Sunday if we want to do a project or not. And I was going to have that discussion with the committee, but the conference itself would actually end Saturday night. So that's kind of the broad strokes right now. And if you want to know, the theme is going to be baseball too, by the way. So go get your favorite baseball jersey.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So I think, so we're saying that, I'm just trying to, I want to think about if you're going to have them kick it off Friday night and the project isn't until Sunday, are you saying that they're going to need to spend 2 nights wherever they're staying in order to be able to participate Sunday?
Yeah. So Haida and I are discussing this, but he is so happy about the fact that this district conference is where it is. He said, Doug, you don't know how hard it's been on me taking them. Bob's year was to Sacramento, and Wolf's year was to Tahoe, and then Reno. And he said it's just a logistical nightmare. And to have one in Petaluma in Rohnert Park, he said it's the easiest of all places for him pretty much. He just has to get some youth down from the north, but he's got everything else lined up.
The other thing is it's their last weekend together. So they're going to be together the whole weekend, no matter what, whether they have a project or not. They'll all be there probably as long as they can. So they would be there anyway on Sunday.
So what's the ask, Doug?
Well, the ask, and maybe it's even as much informational, or maybe it's a Dustin issue and Ashley and Jennifer to work out, is it looks like he's asking for what could be easily $3,000 to feed youth.
That's a lot of pizza.
Yeah.
Well, that would be, they would be, well, I guess that's, you know, and I don't want to drag this whole thing down, the whole meeting into minutia, but, you know, my feeling is if I'm asking them to come and be a part of the Friday night ceremony, you know, if you come to my house, you get a meal.
And there are a couple ways to manage that. You could have scholarships, you could have people sponsor a youth exchange, you could have a lot of different things, so it doesn't have to come out of your budget if it's not feasible.
Okay.
You could have a corporate sponsorship for it as well.
Yeah, maybe we should just take this one offline and have a separate meeting about this specifically, because it's going to, I mean, there's a lot of ways we can go with it. So some good brainstorming with the G-Line and Ash and whoever else wants to be a part of it sounds great. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so send your input if you have any, and we will work on it some more and get you back an answer. It's just because, you know, it was a larger sum of money that's not in the budget, and according to our APs and Ps, yeah, I had to discuss it. Anyway, all right, we'll work on that.
It's great though. It's wonderful. Let me just add that it's wonderful that we're in the process of planning it, and I think it's fabulous that we've got that much interest on the part of the youth exchange folks. So that's fantastic.
Do you want to carry this action item over to till next time?
Yeah, we'll report back what we come up with. So, and let's see. The next item is kind of redundant. I think we covered OneDrive in Teams already. So then it leads into a question that was asked of me, and it's really a follow-up to what we've just been talking about. District conference, October 8 and 9 of 2021. So we are obviously hoping that it can happen. As I speak with Rotarians, they are anxious to have a conference. I mean, everyone is like, if the you know, the society is open and we've been vaccinated, they're going to be running out the doors. It could be actually one of the highest attended conferences we've had in a long time, I believe. You know, and it's all predicated on something that's totally out of our hands, is, you know, the COVID and the vaccinations and what things are at. So a question was asked of what's the commitment in the timeline on this conference. We put a $17,000 deposit down what seems like an eternity ago. It was long ago. Contracts were signed, all pre-COVID, everything lined up and done. We had a window that started last October and it goes through July of 2021. That if we cancel in that window without cause, then there's a $31,000 cancellation fee. Now, without cause means that you know, everything's open and we just decided we don't want to have the conference. If there cannot be public gatherings, and that's going to be the Sonoma County Health Department's decision. I mean, if they say, no, you can't have a conference of 150 people, well, then the contract is null and void. We're out of the contract. So that is, you know, it doesn't specify COVID in the contract. No one knew that one, but it does specify a cancellation for things like that. So we're in this period where come no later than July, a decision gets to be made is, and discussions with the DoubleTree is, you know, where are we at with COVID? Because they're closed down right now. They couldn't hold a conference if they wanted to. So that's the answer, the short answer to the question that was asked. I'm open to questions or input, comments. Because otherwise we're planning two conferences, an in-person conference and a virtual conference, because we don't know which way to go at this point. The same way the ethics committee is planning that Friday event, one way or the other, it will happen either in person or virtual. And we're just playing it day by day.
I think that it makes sense to place somebody on whatever committees that is going to be capable of handling the electronic or the digital side of it or the Zoom side of it, so that you just have them along the way in the whole planning process. I think it's going to be critically important.
Paul Thielen, Sebastopol. So the Sebastopol AV team I've had conversations with them, and they were very helpful in working with the contract, again, over a year ago, to make it so that we could use our AV, because the DoubleTree is very hard about that. And we got that contract done. Other questions or comments? So, and just FYI, once this committee is kind of the initial, we're up and running, Dustin and Jennifer, there's going to be work for both of you. And Tom, I forgot that, and Tom, now, because this is not, you know, my conference. It's not a one-year conference. This is a district conference that is going to reflect true unity of a district governor line. So everyone's going to have a role in this one.
It's all about the peaceful transfer of power, right, Doug?
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, but I'll give you a heads up too, is if you can't find it, go find your baseball glove and start loosening up the arm a little bit, because we may be tossing a baseball around a little bit too, DG line.
Does a wiffle ball count?
No. So, all right.
Absolutely not.
It's the old business pitcher catcher analogy, right?
I still have my catcher's gear, Doug, from catching Gabe's baseball, so I'm set.
All right.
Pitcher catcher.
So, okay, I think our last and important item on this agenda is hand wash. So this is something that Barb asked to be placed on the agenda, so I'm going to let her take the lead at this point in time.
Speaking of the pitcher catcher analogy, thanks, Doug. I appreciate that. And I'm going to apologize right now because I think you can hear a buddy barking in the background, and I apologize for that. Someone's walking by the house, and that's his way of saying hello. So I apologize. And he's coming back. So hand wash stands for Haiti National Water and Sanitation Initiative. So this is something that started a few years ago, started with some clubs on the East Coast. And it was started by Barry Rassin, who's the former RI president. So Barry Rassin, John Smarge, a number of people on that East Coast area. And one of the reasons why they started this initiative is that Haiti, which is basically a 2-hour flight from Miami. So Haiti is someplace that's very proximate to the United States. And yet Haiti has some of the most challenging problems from a health and a governance standpoint of anywhere in the world. It has had challenge after challenge after challenge. I think we all remember in 2010, the earthquake that struck near Port-au-Prince. There were 300,000 lives lost in one day with that earthquake. And it was a devastating event for the country. And then a few years later, Haiti also suffered the hurricane that dropped 40 inches of rain in Haiti in one day. And then Haiti also has had issues with governance, difficult governance. And so what Haiti has been the recipient of what people call episodic aid. So before these earthquakes and these natural disasters hit Haiti, there were about 2,000 NGOs, non-governmental organizations. These are either faith-based organizations, people like Rotary, people like Water for the World, people like Haiti Outreach, numbers of organizations whose agenda is to go in and help and put in infrastructure or put in individual events. So before these major climate disasters struck Haiti, there were about 2,000 non-governmental agencies working in Haiti. After these events, there were 20,000. So what happened with Haiti is that there was so much of a need so fast that everybody descended on Haiti with their individual project. So all these well-meaning organizations just sort of arrived in Haiti, said, you need water. And they would build a well and they would leave, right? So it'll be a project, an individual project at a time type of thing. And they did that with wonderful intentions and all kinds of good intentions, but it did not create capacity in the country, and it did not address the larger issues around infrastructure and around governance and around collaboration with the community. So in watching this sort of revolving door of organizations coming in, doing something and leaving, and then somebody else coming in 18 months later and doing the exact same thing and leaving, it's just this entire revolving door. Rotary looked at Haiti and said, we have an opportunity here to take on something programmatic rather than project-based, something programmatic that will take this country. There's 11 million people in Haiti. So it's a small country. There are 11 million people in Haiti. And yet the average income per person in Haiti is only $800 a year. So poverty is, if you can imagine that, poverty is rampant in Haiti. And so the whole idea with Handwash is to come into the country, Rotary and Handwash. Handwash is an umbrella organization. It's an umbrella organization that goes out and recruits resources through Rotary, through the World Health Organization, through UNICEF, right, through Haiti Outreach, Water for the World, Northwater, all of the players who are active with technology and capability in the water and sanitation area. So Handwash is that umbrella organization that is dedicated to bringing clean water and sanitation to the entire country of Haiti, right? So instead of individual single projects, this is an umbrella organization or an umbrella group started by Rotary leadership to bring clean water and sanitation to the country of Haiti. And it's a very, very exciting initiative. There's a steering committee that has been in place for the last 2.5 years. Jennifer and I joined that steering committee a few months ago. I am on the partnership committee, which is the group that goes out and looks at things like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Haiti Outreach, just the partnerships that are available to us to help develop things. Jennifer is on the finance committee. This group meets every Wednesday to talk about various projects. And where Handwash is right now, it's at a very interesting point, because as you can imagine, in order to accomplish something of this scale with an entire country, even if it's only 11 million people, there are a lot of players that have to be brought to the table, a lot of negotiation, a lot of collaboration, a lot of opportunity to really do some joint listening as to what is important to the people of Haiti, to the communes of Haiti, the government of Haiti, the infrastructure in Haiti, and the people who can support this. So this group is meeting every Wednesday, and they have, at this point, are in a place where they have identified 7 areas or counties, if you will, in Haiti to start to develop relationships between districts in Rotary and these what are called communes in Haiti. And we're at the point, it's really very exciting because it's the initial point where 7 of these communes have been identified in Haiti. And they've been identified for a couple of reasons. One is that these 7 communes have strong Rotary clubs in those communes, right? They have strong Rotary clubs. They have some infrastructure at the community level where the community leaders want to bring their communities into a sustainable water and sanitation state. And so these 7 communes are the pilot communes for how to develop these collaborations, how to create this capacity in Haiti for sustainable water and sanitation. So there are these 7 communes, and what we're looking to, we have an opportunity as District 5130 to be what's called the champion district with one of the communes in Haiti. And this commune that we've been talking to is the commune of Léogâne, Leogane. So I recommend when we finish this conversation, just jump on the web and look at Léogâne. And what you'll find is that Léogâne is where the epicenter of the earthquake was. So when you look at the pictures of the earthquake, you'll see the city of Léogâne just flattened, right? And what Jennifer and I can tell you is that over the last few months when we've been on these calls, some of the individuals on this steering committee are actually from Léogâne. So the Rotary clubs in Haiti are on the steering committee with us. And we had a meeting last week. We had Jennifer, Dustin, and I went in and had a conversation with Tom after, and Doug and I have had conversations. So we got together. We also had folks from the Sebastopol Club on the call. We met with the Rotary leadership team in Léogâne and us via Zoom, and talked about how to collaborate, how to be a champion district for Léogâne. And so what does that mean? What does that ask actually mean? And to be a champion district means that we advocate for Léogâne. We advocate for clean water and sanitation in Haiti with this sort of partner district, partner commune in Haiti. And it's about being an advocate. It's about us at the district level making communications, making education about water and sanitation in Haiti, make that known in our district so that as clubs and as groups of clubs want to do global grants, we can have them work with the folks in Léogâne and work with the community assessments there to still look at strengths. They're an opportunity to participate in this. And so it's not a substitute for, or it's not instead of any other international project or any other global grant that anyone wants to do. It's a special advocacy relationship with Léogâne in Haiti. And we've had these conversations with them. It's very, very exciting. And I'll let Jennifer, do you want to jump in and add to this conversation?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I started hearing about this project. John Smarge and I have been friends for quite a few years, and I started hearing about this way back 3 years ago when he and Barry Rassin started the idea of we are going to create a water and sanitation program where we're going to fix a country's water, not from just going in like Barb was talking about and throwing a bunch of Band-Aids on it, but we're going to get systemic and see if we can, actually create a program that will solve a problem. The reason that they chose Haiti is obviously proximity to the US. They also had some experience there, and Barry Rassin, if you remember, had some disaster relief interest in him, and so he got really involved after the earthquake there. But here's kind of the bottom line with it, is that this program is really something that they are creating as a program in Haiti, but I really believe, and I wouldn't be surprised, and I probably have it on fairly good authority, that this may be something that if they can do it and be successful with it in Haiti, then it's going to be something that's going to get rolled out worldwide as a Rotary International initiative, similar to polio. So we have this opportunity as District 5130 to be involved in this from the ground floor of helping be part of this initiative on water and sanitation. The other couple of comments that I will make with this is the caliber. I mean, this is not just us affiliating with some Rotary club in either Léogâne or some Rotary club in, that has a project that they're doing from the East Coast. This is a worldwide, this steering committee is is really pretty incredible, just learning about these people. They're from all over the world. They're Rotarians and even some non-Rotarians that are on this steering committee, and they're from districts all over the world that are working on this. And the people that are in it, they're not messing around. You know, Barry Rasmussen is still the chair of it, but the caliber and the quality of the expertise that is involved on this steering committee would blow your mind. I mean, they have brought in the brightest minds from around the world on this. The other thing that I would mention on this, as far as a district champion goes, you know, people have asked me, you know, well, does that mean that we're going to be taking we have to go out and raise millions of dollars? No. I was just talking to John this morning, and he's like, look, that first project, he said, you know, we're going to go find the money. You know, they've got the World Bank that's giving big bucks. They have a tremendous amount of funding from, you know, what I call, you know, other people's money, right? You know, that's what you want. So what we would yeah, OPM. So what we would be putting into it is a little bit, you know, some seed money. Like he said, 20 grand of DDF or 20 grand of something on that first project to get it going. He goes, I'll go find the other 300 grand like that. You know, so they're going to go find that money. The other thing is they also will have professional grant writers that are going to be helping with the writing of those first grants. But the final thing that I will say, you know, I haven't been this excited about something with Rotary since the Fire Relief Fund in Lake County back in 2015, and to bring Doug's point in planting those trees in Middletown. I really honestly believe that we have the opportunity at District 5130 to really be involved in something that is transformative, you know, that it's not just, and these projects that we do are fabulous, but to be in on the ground floor of something that is probably eventually going to become a worldwide initiative, I think is a tremendous opportunity. And these folks from Leogon, if you could meet Fritz, they're just, these folks, they're good people, and they're really wanting to make a difference in their community, and they're committed to it. But it's not just a matter of doing a global grant project with a club in Leogon. It's much, much bigger than that. So I'm really hoping that it's something that our district, you know, can really kind of take on as being involved in, and being, as Barb mentioned, an advocate for. But I think that what we're going to get back from that is way bigger than anything we give, for sure.
Yeah. So as a champion district, you know, we will work with the entire hand wash program initiative, which is this global initiative. And what we will be able to do as a champion district is we're going to participate. We're going to create the learning, because we're just starting this. So that's our job as a champion district, is to participate in the learning that's going to help Rotary and this entire initiative figure out what does it take to really build a sustainable level of development rather than episodic aid. So I see it as a really fantastic opportunity for the district, and we have the resources in the district to, you know, bring it into. I've talked with Dustin about bringing it in as something that gets discussed at PETS and the DTA, so all our club presidents know about it. It's just something, I think, you know, when we talk about making Rotary meaningful, just like with the environment, making Rotary meaningful, giving something to all of our Rotarians that says, here's something to be part of that is huge, and it's important, it's global. The only way you're going to be able to do this, the only way any of us in District 5130 are going to be able to participate in something like this is exactly this way, right? You can't just, this is how we do these things. So our ask is that we want to be a Rotary champion district for hand wash.
A curious question, and that is, have they got a projection for how many years it might take to create this first model?
So, well, when people talk about hand wash, they have come to our international monthly meetings, and and made presentations on it. And when people talk about hand wash, they talk about it in terms of decades, right? Decades. It's going to take a long time. You don't fix these kinds of things in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years kind of thing. These first few projects we're talking about, or the first few elements of it, will probably take a few years. So it's not in any one governor's kind of thing. It's just a commitment that we make to advocate and to participate and to work with this group. And I can also say that
go ahead.
I just finished doing a global grant, creating a global grant with our club in St. Helena. So our St. Helena team worked with a Rotary Club in Harare, Zimbabwe. And we just submitted a global grant for a water and sanitation program for a village in Zimbabwe. So we started this project last August. And this team of Rotarians from St. Helena and from Zimbabwe met via Zoom every Thursday morning from the end of August until we had a meeting this past Thursday, every week. And this team got together and created a global grant for this water project in Zimbabwe. And I can tell you that experience for our group in St. Helena and the group in Harare was magical to watch the development of first of all, the development of the grant, the technical aspects of it, but the community and the relationships that were formed between the individuals here in District 5130 and in the destination. It is breathtaking to watch that happen. So, I mean, I'm really excited about giving our Rotarians in District 5130 something that, should they choose, they can be part of something very important in the world.
And I'll tag on to that, Tom, to answer your question. It's each commune, they've already got their first commune up and going. They've done their first global grant project in there. It's not, hand wash is not something that's ever probably going to go away in any of our lifetimes again, if it ends up being expanded out. So that's the decades part that Barb was talking about. The commune that we would be working with is called Leogán. So we're not saying, okay, this is going to be something that every single district governor until the end of time in District 5130, has to be committed to doing, because what we're wanting to do is be a champion district partner with Leogán. And I think it would be it's the third commune, right, Barb?
It would be the third commune. Two are started up. And in terms of kind of like, we're just at the place where we're starting these conversations with Fritz and the team in Leogán. So we're just at the very foundations, which is really very, very exciting part of it.
So Tom,
and in fact, it would be really.
Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
I was going to say what I would love to be able to do maybe for our next board meeting is I'd love to invite Fritz and a couple of his Rotarians. When we had our meeting with them last week, when we were making the connection between Rotary's relationship with polio and immunizations and hand wash, what two of the people from Leogán who were on the call, rolled up their sleeves and they said, I remember getting my polio vaccination and Rotary was part of that. And they also said, Jean-Marc said, I remember growing up in my village in Haiti, and we didn't have water. We did not have water in our home ever when I was growing up. But I did have my polio shot from Rotary. So when we think about the lack of infrastructure and the things that Haiti needs relative to water for their population, clean water and sanitation, I think that we can be as meaningful, this project will be as meaningful for Haiti and other countries as polio is now.
So Tom, kind of filling in a couple blanks too, because I don't want you to leave with a misconception. I think the project has a lot of merit, especially on the advocacy side where it goes. As far as where's Rotary going, the people that I talk to swear up and down there has been no discussion on what happens after polio. And then the second thing, well, Brenda
There's
Cressy.
not. No. I'm agreeing with you. No, there
Yeah.
hasn't.
And-
I'm just,
and-
that was my opinion, Doug. That was just my.
And the second thing is the inference I get from people is there won't be anything chosen after polio. There's a lot of fatigue on this polio, and they wish they hadn't. And I don't want to say they wish they hadn't. They're looking back saying, wow, donor fatigue is starting to happen. It's gone on far longer than they thought. So I don't think they're going to choose something specific. I think they'll have the wide palette open, and this will be one of them. And there's a lot of merit to this project. The other thing, Barb and I have talked several times now about what does it mean to us and what doesn't it mean to us? And the advocacy side, the giving the opportunities to the clubs to get involved in something that is well organized is a good thing. I would be very hesitant to commit DDF money if it was me. And I sent out to you all the summary from Barry on where we stand on DDF. And it looks like we have money, but what's going to happen in the next couple of years is the DDF from 3 years ago is what gets spent. So Bob Spangler had a very good year on donations to the foundation. So Dustin's going to have a lot of money. I didn't look up your numbers specifically, Kathy, but that'll go over to Jennifer. But Tom, this year is a disaster in DDF. Because of COVID, giving around the world is way down, and you're going to be inheriting a situation with a very reduced DDF coming. So we need to balance out the projects that our district is putting forth to clubs and make sure we have funding for them before we start committing money. So that's my hesitancy there as far as the financial side of it. But to speak to clubs, to publicize it, to give the opportunity for people to get involved in something that they could be excited about, maybe producing some short videos you push out to clubs to show at their meetings, things like that. I think that's a good idea, and let the clubs decide with their checkbook where they want to go.
Yeah, the ask is about being a champion. Yeah, Brad.
I just want to say that this is exactly the kind of thing that excites me about Rotary. Is somebody has an idea and they think it should work, and they put the word out, and those who want to pile on. And I think we should give folks the opportunity.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. I think as I see, and that's why I'm so excited, because I watched this happen as the international chair. I see what happens when we create the opportunity for our Rotarians in District 5130 to relate to Rotarians, other places, and how we really create a better world when we do that. So for me, I'm really excited about this opportunity to be, an advocacy champion. What we do with our money, we can figure that out later. But I really believe, we can really give our Rotarians an excellent opportunity and some great visibility into, how to achieve sustainable good work in the world.
Yeah. If we can get clubs excited, the district's going to match that money. I think right now we're actually at 1.75 to 1. We're doing a bigger match right now. So our job of educating them and getting them excited, in the end, the district will be contributing money.
So I'll just kind of throw one more thing into the middle of this. So I'm from the Rotary Club of Lakeport, and the Rotary Club of Lakeport has been around since 1925, and I don't think it's ever done a global grant, not one. It even had the district grants chair in their club, and I still couldn't get him to do a global grant. So when this was presented to our club, we had we had the speaker come and talk about hand wash, and my club actually really got excited about it. And I think that this is an opportunity for clubs like Lakeport, that maybe have never had any interaction with a global grant, and to feel comfortable with the fact that their money is going into a specific place that they can kind of wrap their arms around, but they also know that it's going to be stewarded well, and to be able to get to be able to learn, and to have some interaction with that, and to get introduced to this world of beyond the city limits of Lake County, kind of a thing. So I think that was really interesting watching that, just from the standpoint of my own particular club. And I wasn't even the one speaking, you know, we had the speaker, but just watching their faces on the Zoom. And I just wonder how many clubs in our district do we have that have never done a global grant? I will tell you, it's a lot. From being the grants chair, there's a lot of clubs in our district that have never been involved in anything outside. And I think that this might be something that can bring our clubs together for, you know, and maybe start expanding. Well, if I can help with that project and program, maybe then I can go and develop a relationship with somebody else and do something someplace else too. And so anyway, I think there's a whole bunch of different levels to it that is really an amazing opportunity for us to be a part of. And the other thing I will tell you is they handpicked us. They're not just tossing this out there to every district in the world and saying, hey, who wants to be a champion district? They actually handpicked District 5130 to be one of these original, communes for a lot of different reasons. And so, I hope it's something that we can do, because I'm pretty excited about it. So
I'd like to add just a little bit, and there is no way to compare the two. But when we had Festival of Brotherhood for 20 years with a district in Mexico, 4150, that's similar to what we did. It certainly wasn't as focused, and the need was great, but it wasn't as international as what you have with the hand wash. But it'll give those clubs, and many of them were dedicated to Festival of Brotherhood, where once a year they'd go to Mexico and work with that district, 4150, and do local projects. And they have a project fair, and it was a great relationship, and it was an easy way to find an international project. So we've lost that since that district was reassigned, and their foundation isn't as robust as it should be yet. And we were hoping to get back someday. But this really will reflect on those people that took part in Festival of Brotherhood. It will reignite that passion again, I think. I think you're going to get not only the new clubs, but those that have kind of stepped back from that international giving because of the loss of that opportunity.
I'd have to say, Barb was great to share the entire presentation that you had. And we had a good discussion, I think, about ways that we might be able to enhance it. I love it. I think it's a great idea, and ways to be able to enhance it by introducing cultural elements of Haiti to try and stem some of the negatives that might be out there with regard to some of the news that we've heard over the years, and being able to have this direct link with this particular Rotary Club. I agree. I think that it could be our Festival of Brotherhood for the next few years. And Doug, thanks for sharing that I'm broke and I haven't even sat in the seat yet.
Doug knows, huh, Doug?
Don't worry. Don't worry. Yeah. So I think, the thing that, one of the other things that I like about it is we have as much of an opportunity to learn as what we're contributing. So, we're gonna contribute our skill sets, our people, our energy, but we're gonna learn a lot from every time I'm on one of those meetings. I learn something, and I look at it and I'm just sort of like, I can't wait till we all get vaccinated, and we all get to the place where we can go and be in a room with these folks again, and really, get these things kicked off. So that's, so I just hope that everyone's comfortable with being a champion district. Is everybody good with that idea?
Yeah, I think, and actually I should tell you, one of my guys at work, he's my right-hand person for service, is Ernst Louis Jacques, and he's originally from Haiti, his family. He's a good guy. He's worked with us for about 30 years. So I'll have to ask him about this commune and what it's like. So
check it out.
Yeah. So, is the next step to kind of work on a draft of a sample MOU?
We already have a sample MOU. and Barb can talk more about that. But
I looked at that one, if it's the one I think from another
yeah,
district.
and basically, we sent that to you, so we can get together and anything specific that you want to see in it. They're basically, like I said, we're getting in on the ground floor to help them, to kind of be a part of creating this. So, they're we can start putting language in it.
Can I ask a question?
Katie.
In my former Rotary life in District 5170, which is the South Bay, we had a young man come who was a urologist at Stanford. He was part of a group of, after the earthquake in Haiti, and this just some information, then I have a question. All these buildings fell down, and one of the biggest things that happened to the group of Haitians were crushed pelvises because of being crushed in falling buildings. And in that country of, I don't know how many million, there were 8 urologists to rebuild people's, urinary tracts, male and female. I mean, it was a disaster. So this team of doctors went down there and they just did surgeries all the time. And there were medical clinics that were built, kind of thrown together. And there was a fair amount of Rotary involvement because he kept showing the one clinic that they were operating of it. And because of all the unrest politically at that period, these clinics were kind of up in the hills, away from, bigger population centers. It was hard for people to get there. And a lot of these people who had been crushed, not only, they just really significant injuries, and just getting there physically was a big deal. So here's my question, knowing that this project, so Rotary's been on the ground a lot in Haiti. Is there and I'm sure the answer is yes, but is there a move to sort of integrate sort of what is there, who's already there, who's operated there, and to pull all that into like kind of the big tent of Rotary operating in that place?
Yeah, so that's a great observation, Katie, and that is a really big part of why this is a programmatic initiative rather than a project, because what people learned, especially after that earthquake and then after the hurricane disasters, is that, and as we learned, when we think about our immediate response when we have an immediate response to a fire, there's that interval right after that event where people kind of rush in,
right,
and people rush in and do things to just fix it right now kind of thing. So I don't know if you remember the center that was down at the Press Democrat building, and the DMV was there, all the insurance companies were there, people were handing out gift cards. There's that level of activity, and then there's that long-term, rebuild kind of thing. So there's 2 things that go on, and there's one that's sort of the catastrophic part of Haiti response, and then there's the other in the building that country. So yeah, what you're saying, those observations about what they had to do and where they had to do it in Haiti right after the earthquake, well, they were probably up in those hills because there was no infrastructure down in the city. They couldn't get closer to the people, most likely. But there is a real appreciation for that, because the same people who were dealing with that and living with that and trying to fix it then, they're still there. And so they did that learning. And that's why those folks are involved in this planning portion of this side of it. And they're looking at it in terms of, what is it actually going to take programmatically on the Haitian side? What's the appetite? How do you create the appetite in Haiti to do this at the commune level? Because that's another part of it. It's not sort of helicoptering in and dropping aid or dropping one thing in. It's just like, how do we create the sustainability as we work our way through this?
Yeah, on this project having to do with this urology surgery thing, what it boiled down to was getting doctors, physicians, Haitian doctors trained in urology, and because and that goes to your issue about trying to get it sustainable, because getting those people educated and getting them to go back to Haiti to work, that caused its own set of issues. So
So Katie, to answer that question even a little bit, maybe more specifically, there's a gentleman that's on the steering committee that's been on it since day one. His name is Neil Van Dyne. He lives in Haiti. He's been there since 1989. He's an American that is he's the founder of Haiti Outreach. And he's one of the major people there, but he's lived there in Haiti since 1989 as an American with this Haiti Outreach. And so he's actually got boots on the ground and is very involved in this. So he knows the Haitian government really well. He knows all of the players, that are on the ground in Haiti, to speak to your point, because that is really important. And having been really involved in the disaster relief stuff, even up here in Lake County, Barb is right. There's this whole stuff that gets thrown at it right away, but then there's that real work. And in having people in the community that understand, what the players are, who they are, the pitfalls, all of that is really, really important. And I think, when I've been involved in other global grant projects from the standpoint of looking at it, is exactly that problem. It's like, who are the players? Is this going to be sustainable? Is it good money after bad? Is it, we're having to build everything. Whereas the thing that I like about this program for us to, potentially have some involvement in is the pieces in the structure are there to a certain extent. We get to be involved in helping put them together, but we're not going it alone. And you've got people like Neil that are on the ground in the country and have been there for a long time that get it. So if that answers.
There are actually a number. Yeah, there are a number of doctors actually who are on the steering committee as well, because they see those issues. There's a lot of docs. Yeah.
So we could talk all day on it here, and let me ask this question: Do any of you have questions of concern that you want addressed? We've been talking about the many positives, but are there any concerns that you'd want addressed? Because if not, what I think the next step is to actually work on drafting, an MOU to get before you all to take a look at, and then we'd have something really to talk more about. Right now, it's the concept, and the concept is right in line with Rotary in their mission. So I don't see a problem. Any other thing?
Jennifer and I will work on a. How about if Jennifer and I work on an MOU draft that we get out to folks and people can comment on it.
Yeah, and see if you can make it simpler than the one from the Washington district. That was like a lot of words.
Well, I think and that's why you didn't see it. That's why everybody doesn't have it, because we were just like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, so I read that thing. It's like what are we forming a country here?
Yeah. So our MOU will speak to advocacy and opportunity and relationships between our district and the commune of Léogâne. So, first of all, thanks everybody for listening. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I think we've got a phenomenal opportunity here, and Jennifer and I and anyone else who wants to, just let us know. We'll all work on an MOU together and get that out to folks.
Yeah, definitely. As you're working on it, keep me in the loop, because
absolutely,
it's most likely going to be signed this year, and that means I have to sign it. So yeah, I'd like to be involved in the creation of it.
Yeah, we'll try not to. We had a meeting with the folks in Léogâne, which was just wonderful, and with some of the folks from Sebastopol, because they have a real interest in this as well. And unfortunately we scheduled it when Doug has his Friday afternoon meeting, so he wasn't able to attend, but we'll try to get the next one scheduled so it's not on a Friday afternoon.
Thank you. Yes, my standing happy hour with my sales team. I have to keep them happy.
God forbid we interfere with your happiness.
Their happiness. I got to motivate people to do a job they can't do because of COVID. So anyway, all right. That wraps up what I had on the agenda. Is there anything not on the agenda that somebody would like to bring before the board at this meeting? No? Okay. It looks like our last board meeting is set for May 15th. So we've got a little time, but hopefully we can even have an MOU figured out before then. But other than that, do I have a motion to close the meeting? Brad beat you, Jen, but you can have seconds.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor? All right, we are done at 11:03.
So Doug, can you
Thanks,
make
everybody.
me, can you make me co-host and then click stop recording so that Barb and I can stay on
Oh,
for just a
Jennifer.
few minutes?